Hello everyone, my name is Joshua Stafford. I'm with Silverware POS, and today I'm going to be showing you how to gain access to Admin Center and how to use Admin Center. To obtain access or give access to Admin Center, all you need to do is go to mypass2.silverwarepos.com. Many of you may already have access to MyPass. These credentials are also used to use our online reporting. What you will do is go to MyPass. You're going to locate your location here. Silverware Demo is what we're using. And you may already have a list of employees. If you're trying to give an existing employee access to Admin Center, you want to locate them. I'm going to find my name, Joshua Stafford, and then I'm going to go to Cloud Management. In this example, there are multiple databases to select from. By default, you should only have one. It's going to be whatever the name of your location is. In this case, we're using Implementations Lab. And then you'll see current management role show up. I'm already assigned to this, but let's just go ahead and go through the motions anyway. You will have a default Cloud Admin Management role, and this will be your location name. You can create other management roles. That is something we can get into later on in the training, but you'll select your management role, assign, and now I have access to Admin Center. If it is someone that does not currently have access to MyPass, is not already in here, you can invite a person to this chain. You're going to type in their email address 2 times and then specify what kind of access they have. They can have user access, which is a store that's assigned to them. So if you're a chain, you have multiple locations and you only want a person to have access to one particular store or a number of stores, you can select user. You can do user plus all stores, and then you can select sponsor. Sponsor will, as it says, you can invite new users or manage existing users, and you have access to all stores. If you're using this process to invite someone to MyPass, once you've submitted it, then they'll get an email. They open up that email. There will be a link to take them to an area where they can create their account. They'll have to fill out some information. They'll have to create a username and password, and then you can go from there, and they'll have access to MyPass. At which you would go into here, you would locate their name, go to Cloud Management, and assign them the role. Once your employee or yourself has been given the Cloud Management assignment, then you can go to admincenter.silverwarepos.com. If it is your first time accessing Admin Center, or it's been a while, or your internet's refreshed, like your internet browser has refreshed, you may see an actual login screen. Just use your email that you use for MyPass and the password that you created for it, and it will take you to this window here. You will only see one location or one chain. I have access to multiple ones because I have different projects, but you'll only see yours. I'm going to click on Silverware Demo, and then you'll have this window open. From here, you will see all stores, and then you'll see these below. If you're just a singular location, let's say you're just one singular restaurant, you have no other chains, no sister locations, then you will see all stores and then the name of your location below. If you are a chain, you have several locations, you will have all stores and then each name of each location listed below. If you are a singular location, then you can just select all stores. If you are a chain, you have multiple locations and you're wanting to make changes, updates, or anything like that, modifications to a particular location, then you would want to select that one specifically. Because this is just one, we're going to click on all stores. Now that we've selected that, we are on our dashboard. This is the main view of Admin Center. I'm now going to direct your attention to the top left-hand corner where these 4 squares are. If you click on it, a little submenu will pop open where you will find links to Admin Center, Admin Panel. That's where you would configure and modify anything with online ordering, online menus, stuff like that. You have MyPass 2. Heartbeat, Reports, and Insights are all 3 of your reporting tools, so you can click on those to get those here. And then you have some internal tools as well. From there, I'm going to direct your attention to the top right-hand corner where you see this little figure icon. If you click on that, another little submenu will show up, give you some basic information about yourself. It'll show you what chain and database you're connected to. And then you have audit report. Audit report is a good way to pull out a report for data on what's been changed, when it's been changed, who's changed it, and you can specify, customize all of this just to see what changes have been made and when. Next, we'll go back into it, and you have manage store groups. This would be pertaining to mostly chains. So if you had, let's say you had multiple chains across the country and you had different regions, you could have Northeast region, and within each Northeast region, you can have state 1, 2, 3, and 4. Within state 1, 2, 3, and 4, you can have each location that's within each state. This allows you to customize access and divide up in order to make it easier to configure and modify things. To do this, you would click on the plus sign. You would create a name. Let's do Northeast region. Create. So that's a Northeast region. I can now add state 1, state 2, and if there were multiple locations listed here, I could put state 1's locations into this group, state 2's locations, and it will be subdivided as such. Now we're going to go back into here, and we're going to go to Manage Default Permissions. Permissions or permission sets can be thought of as what you are allowed to do. It defines what actions someone can and cannot perform inside of Admin Center. As an example, you'll see that managers and above only have access to modify users. Executive chefs can modify questions. Supervisors can adjust menu groups. Managers can change roles and the permissions within them. And supervisors can change price levels. Everything else, you have to have Cloud Admin permission set as your permission in order to be able to do anything else. As a default, this will all be the same thing. You can add, change, and modify any of these at any time you need. Really would only see this really happening for larger chains. Not to say that it wouldn't be used for a singular location, but generally speaking, a larger location, multiple chains, different regions and stuff like that, that's kind of where that would tie into it. All right, now we're going to go back over to the left-hand side, and you'll see a flag with all stores here. If I click on it, you'll have these selections. If you're a chain with multiple store locations, you will see all of those locations listed below. Whereas you can click on that individual one. It says, by changing your store group, you will be navigating out of this view. Do you wish to continue? If I click continue, now I'm in that individual store location. Any additions, modifications, or changes that I make will be specifically and only on that store location. This is good if you're a chain. However, this is going to be an example of a singular location, so I'm going to click on all stores. Below that, you have menu, operations, employees, permissions, and general. We're going to focus on menu for now. And I have items selected. This is the view that you have for items. Groups and questions are going to be similar. You're going to see very similar things. But we're going to start off by creating new items. To create a new item is very simple. You click Add New Item, and we're going to type in a name. Let's do Test Baked Potato. We need to assign it to a minor class. You have major classes and minor classes. Major classes could be food, beer, liquor, wine. Minor classes could be appetizers under food. So we're going to do appetizers. And because this is an item to be ordered, it can have a price for default price of item. Let's just set this to $4. All right. Now at the top right-hand corner, you're going to see there's a dot next to the save button. This means that I've made changes, and those changes have not yet been saved. Highly recommend that for every few changes, alterations, modifications that you make, please go and save. Do so as frequently as you can. You would not like to have to changes and modifications for an hour or more, and then find out that the save doesn't go through. And then you have to basically delete all of those and start all over again. Now that I've clicked save, that dot's gone. That lets me know that the changes have been made. So now we have a test item, baked potato, but we need to create a new item. We want to create a modifier, an add-on, if you will, of, let's say, bacon for the baked potato. Okay, we're going to click on add new item, and we're going to do test baked potato bacon. Now, if this is going to be an upcharge, and in this case it will, you can notate it as being an upcharge. You can put a money, like a $sign on there. However you want to notate it, we're going to use a $sign. And for the minor class, we're going to look for priced modifier. Let's see, priced modifiers right here. Now we don't want to put a price here for item because this is not an item, this is a modifier. We need to go to price of mod and then add it in there. Let's say this is a $1 upcharge. So now that's saved, or we're saving it. Now that's saved. What I suggest is this is your favorites page. You can put favorites on here. I know typically I'm going to put in an item name, the minor class, price of an item if it's an item, or price of a mod if it's a mod. I'm going to go onto price of mod, click on these dots, add to favorite, and then if I go into favorites, there you go. Now that's going to show up for me. Now you can further customize this item in greater detail as we go down this list. If I click on names, this lets me change the descriptions for item, display name, remote guest, check, long description. If you want to alter those, I'm keeping it all the same for this. If you want to track costs, this is where you would put those. Price of item, price of mod. There's a minor class that's attached to. Item type would be if you're assigning this item to be a part of a rule-based combo or price level combo. Here's where you would add a question. So if we created a question for baked potato modifiers, and we could put the baked potato bacon in that question, then we'd go to the baked potato and we'd add that question here, and I'll show you that here later. Printing configuration. By default, whenever you create an item and it's being placed as a modifier, it will ignore the print location and it will follow the item when modifying. That's very important. Availability, this would be where you choose the availability of where this item would be. An example of that would be online ordering. You want this item to show up on your online menu, then you would go into here and you would check that. Hold and fire procedures, security. The permission level for the items right now is set for F&B director and above on this. You have recipes. Recipes are good, especially for online ordering. This is where you can type in a description of a particular entree or a drink or something like that, and that description will then show up on the online menu. Same thing for images. You can input images here that will then show up online. You have options here. You can have it show an optional question. You can allow this to be part of a schedule. You can ask it to provide a description window. So if you turn this on, then whenever you click on that item, it will have a little window pop open for you to type in a description. Those are really good for creating like open items, like open food, open liquor, open beer, something like that. You can make it active, inactive. Associations are really cool. What this lets you do is if you click on it, it will show you where that item is located. Right now it's not anywhere, it's not put into any groups or anything like that, but this is where you would go if you can't seem to find it or don't know where else it's placed. Scale, barcodes, and dimensions, those are all other customizable features. Next, we're going to go into groups. Similar view as you did with items. Groups are essentially containers that you can put items into. An example of this would be breakfast sides. So if you have a sides menu group for breakfast sides, you can go into here and add all those sides into it. You can create a new one just like an item, Click on add new group. I'm going to give a name to this. Test food menu group. And then I want to make sure the description is the same all the way down. I can add a default question to this group or any group. Typically, by default, when we build out a database, if there's anything that is a food menu group, I'm not sure if these are in here. Let me take a look. But you would have, let's see, have some sort of a food prep. We'll just use pizza prep as an example. So what that would do is that would give you the ability to access a modifier group within the food menu group. If it's a drink or beverage related menu group, then typically we'll have something that's called liquor prep, and then you can that way you'll have like modifications based upon beverages, liquors, wines, beers, stuff like that. Once you've created a group, you'll very likely want to put something into that group. I can click on add items. Let's look up test baked. There's our test baked potato. I'm going to click OK and click done. That check mark lets me know that the change has been made. Let's go ahead and save these changes. I've made a couple of changes. Let's go ahead and save it. That way you don't get any errors or anything like that. Cool. Next is layout. Layout is where you customize how you want that menu group to look and operate. Generally speaking, if I'm creating a database and I'm creating a menu group, I know I'm going to want jump keys. Essentially what jump keys are is they're groups inside of groups that open up, that basically create doors for you to get into other groups, and you'll see what I mean here in a minute. I'm going to click on left column. This means that if I add contents into this group, this left column will be reserved for menu groups only to create jump keys. I can specify the number of columns that are in here. Let's do 4 columns by 8 rows. If I want to have certain margin specifications, I can do that. And then you have snake direction and sort alphabetically. Snake direction choices are vertical and horizontal. In this case, horizontal. If I turn on sort alphabetically, within these columns here, it will sort alphabetically top to bottom, left to right, horizontal. If I did it vertically, it would be top to bottom, this column, then to the next one, and the next, and the next. This is really good if you have multiple items within a group and you're just trying to get it sorted alphabetically. Once you've sorted it, please uncheck this. If you leave this turned on, it will not let you highlight and move things around. Okay. Now we're inside of the style window. This lets us actually customize the style of the buttons inside of the group, a few other things that we can modify. You can have basically a default jump key style. So any menu group you put into here, it will be whatever color or style that you set it to be. Same thing for any menu item. You can have it just by default. Anytime you add an item in there through contents, it's going to be this particular color. Or you can do it one by one or group by group. If I had multiple items in here, I could highlight all of those items. 1 second. I can highlight multiple items, and then if, let's say I have 3 or 4 items in here that are highlighted, I can resize them to whatever I need them to be, and they would all take those changes in size at the same time. If I want to change the color, I can highlight this again, or a group of items, go to button style. Let's say I want to do blue button. Now that button has a blue border. I can further customize it. I can change the colors. I can change the border thickness if I want it to be thinner, border radius, font types and size and weights, widths and heights if you want to. And then you have, let me close these real quick. You have manage layout. If I have more than one item in here, in fact, let me just do this for training purposes. Type in test. There we go. Let's do test 1 and test 2. And we're going to add a menu group into here to show you kind of how a jump key works. Let's do beverage. Okay, we have those items in there. Let's make a save. Dot disappears. And let's go into style. On the left-hand side, you have your jump key. If you're actually on a workstation and you click on this, this will take me from the test food menu group into beverages. If I highlight these items and then go to manage layout, you'll see that I can do a snake direction and sort alphabetically again. I can also do a fit to cell. If I change baked potato to be just a little bit smaller than these two cells, I can highlight these two, make them a little bit smaller. Now watch what happens. This highlighted, manage layout, auto fit to cell. There you go. It does that all for you. Next will be questions. Very similar to groups and how they're created. Add a new question. Let's do test baked potato mods. Okay, have our descriptions in there. Now we need to add contents. I'm going to do test BP bacon. There it is. We're going to select it, click done. Questions typically do not need jump keys. You're more than welcome to put them in there if you want to navigate between different questions. That's fine, but typically you don't need it. I'm going to leave this as no column. I am going to change it to 4 columns, and we're going to go into style. Now I've got my bacon. I'm going to drag it over here, make it a big old button. Now I have a modifier that I can attach to the potato. I'm going to click save. I'm going to go over to items again, look up test baked potato, click on it, and now I'm going to go to questions. I'm going to click on these 3 dots, add new, test the baked potato mods, and now I have that question on there. So if I go into a workstation and I select test baked potato mods, or sorry, test baked potato, it will automatically pop open this question if I want to add bacon. If I have multiple options in there and I want them to be able to select multiple options, I can choose that here. So maybe I have bacon and cheese and butter and chives and onions. I have a total of 5 options in there, and I can force them to pick one or more or none. If I have pick quantity at 0 to 5, that means they do not have to pick anything at all, but they can pick up to 5. If I have it set to 1, then they were required to pick one. They have to pick one or they will not be able to get out of that modifier screen, and they can pick up to 5. You can also set it 1 to 1 where they can pick only one and have to pick only one. I'm going to save that. From there, we're going to go into sales classes. As I said, there are major classes. Generally speaking, when we build out a database, you will have food, beer, liquor, wine, probably retail, depending on what your build out is. You might have a few other types, but those are the general ones. And then within each of those, you'll have minor groups or minor classes, sorry. You'll have appetizers under food. Brandy and cognac would be under liquor. Let's see. Craft bottles would be under beer, so on and so forth. This is how reporting is pulled as well. So whenever you pull reports by minor, major class, that's how this goes about. To create a major class, you simply click on Create New, test major class. If you're integrating with a property management system like Maestro or Opera, you will likely need to have an interface ID. You can specify if there's some sort of loyalty program. You can have like points earned per dollar kind of thing happening. You have availability as well. If this class is going to be available in your online menu. You have taxes. Very important to make sure you have the correct taxes applied. Let's do admin center tax. Miscellaneous. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Now we're going to go to minor classes and create a new minor class. Test minor class. I need to confirm the major class it's going to. It's going to be under test major class. Typically speaking, for PMS integrations, you don't need to worry about interface IDs for the minor classes. It's usually just for the major classes, but you can still put them in there if needed. You have printing. So printing can be controlled by major and minor classes. If I wanted it to, no bar printing as an example, I could do that. Same thing for availability. You can have taxes refined down to the minor class if you want. Here are some miscellaneous modifications you can make. You can choose this to be entree class, allow discounts, gratuities, so on. I'm going to save those. And now you've created both a major and minor class. From there we have price levels. This is where you can create price levels for whether it be particular menu items, menu groups, stuff like that. Happy hour is a perfect example. If you're going to have a happy hour menu group, you can create a price level for it, and then you can create a schedule for that happy hour. And by connecting the price levels to that happy hour group through scheduling, you can put that happy hour group, maybe it's Monday through Thursday, only between the times of 5 and 7 o'clock p.m. You can go through that. Very easy to add them. You add a new price level. You can have a permission level set to it if you want. And then you save it. You can go into scheduling, test, happy hour schedule. I can select the start date of the 15th and end date of the 17th. And if I wanted to, I can make it run only through Monday and Friday if I wanted to. Let's just do that. Start time. Let's do 5 p.m. End time 7 p.m. Now I can have this specific to a station. I can have it specific to a cost center or a service type. But I can also do affected items. From here, I can get my test price level. I'm going to add that into here. I can make it to where it's just for a certain menu group or just particular items. And this will then attach a schedule to this menu group of a cache food. And it will only be, you can only go into that menu group through Monday through Friday, or the days that it starts and stops, basically, and the times of 5 and 7 p.m. Next is the POS Panel Designer. This is essentially where you can create customized style buttons. If you want a blue button, you can go in here and create a blue button. I'm going to click on New. Let's do test red button. Go down to here. We're going to do background color of black. Confirm. Foreground color of white. Confirm. And we've already got red here. I want the border to be 2 and the radius to be 6. I'm not going to change any of the font sizes or types or anything, but now I have a red button. So if I go into modify items and groups for questions and I want one of those items to be red, I now have a selection to choose from. Price matrix is allows you the ability to make modifications to large groups of items in a way that you would do so in an Excel sheet. So you can select multiples and change multiple things at the same time. Now that we've gone through the menu, I want to show you something else as well. I'm going to click on items. Let's remove this. This view here that you see, description, major class, menu groups, minor class, store assignment, I can change what columns are in here by clicking on these 3 dots on the far right. Maybe if I want to see what's active versus non-active, and I don't care to see store assignment, I click on confirm. I now have an active column and it removed the store assignment column. You have these numbers right here. This just lets you see if these items are located in multiple places. So an example of this would be you could have an item shared amongst different groups. Maybe you have a bacon in your breakfast, a bacon in your lunch, and a bacon in your dinner, as an example. And I want to just see what menu groups a particular item is in. If I click on 5 and I start scrolling down, you'll see right here that this beer is in 2 different groups. I'm going to put that down here, and now we're going to go into operations. Operations is where you create your voids, discounts, gratuities. You can alter payment methods and make sure your taxes are correct. If I click on voids, I need to add a new void. I'm going to type in the name of it, what it's going to be. Test void. I can have it be a refund or a void. In this case, it is going to be a void. I can have it affect inventory if I want to, and I will be forced to choose a role to authorize. In this case, let's say a manager has to can only authorize this, and nobody below a manager. Here you can also have permission sets if you want to change permission sets. Originally, this has a default. Click on save, and now we've created a void. Discounts are similar. I'm going to go into here. View is very similar. Add new discount. Test discount. I can choose whether or not it's a % off or a value off. Let's say this is a value off. No loyalty. And you can choose whether it's an open amount. You can have an open value or an open % discount if you so choose. I'm going to uncheck this because I want this to be a $5 discount. If you're integrating with Maestro or Opera, you will need an interface ID for this discount, and any discount for that matter. You can have discount group codes. Role to authorize is also a selection you need to make. Let's do manager. You can have it affect tax, allow negative. You do want it to be visible, applied to all items. You can narrow down what it can affect. You can narrow it down by major class. Maybe this discount is only used or to be used for food items. Or maybe there is a particular minor class within foods major class, or just a particular group of items, or a cost center. Maybe it's only going to be used in the bar, but not the restaurant. Gratuities, again, are similar. Add new gratuity. Test grat. I can make it be a gratuity or a service charge if I want to. I can make it value or %. Let's make it a %. And I can have it open value or open % as well. But we're going to do 20% grat. You would also want to have an interface ID for your gratuities for property management systems as well. Choose a role to authorize manager. You could have this affect your net cash owing or affected by discount if you want. And just like discounts, you can specify if it only affects certain major, minor classes, menu items, or cost centers as well. Payment methods. Don't really need to do much on payment methods, except if you're using property management systems. That's really the only time that I would see you needing to go into here. You could go into any payment method, let's say American Express. You can determine whether or not over is tip or don't allow tips, or if it triggers a drawer. But you can turn this on, basically making it to where it does not post to PMS. For whatever reason you may need, you check this here, and whenever an American Express payment goes through, it will not post over to PMS. Speaking of PMS, you do need an interface ID for this if you're integrating with Maestro and or Opera. Well, Maestro or Opera. Then you have taxes. You can go into here. You can add a new tax, food tax, interface ID, type in the amount you want it to be. Let's do 0.07, which would make it 7%. A few configurations down here at the bottom. And now that I have a tax created, I can go into major classes and I can assign that tax to the whatever major class I need to assign it to. Save this. And now I have food tax in here. Next is employees. Employees, you have users, roles, and jobs. Users is where you create a new user. I'm going to click on Add New User. Alias is what's going to show up on a receipt. So you always want to put something in the alias. You can do first name, last initial if you want, however you want to go about it, but you do want to put something in there. Test user. You can choose right or left hand. I'm a left-handed person. Rarely do left-handed people want to have the left-handed selection made, because that flips the buttons on a workstation. So the way that you normally see it on a workstation with all the ordering buttons on the right and the display on the left, it will flip that whenever a left-handed selection person goes in. 90% of the time, 99% of the time, just keep it right-handed. You do have a selection here of male and female. You can honestly leave it here as the default. It does not affect anything or any way that anything works, but that is a selection there. And then you can put in personal information if you want to do that. If you're using Silverware as an employee management system, then you can put your information here and do so. From there, when I create a new user, I need to assign them a role. In this case, let's say I'm going to be a manager, and I need to assign them to a store. If you have multiple store locations, you can choose one store over the other, or you can add them to multiple stores, however it needs to go. In this case, there's only one choice, so we're going to do this. Now I have my role. We need to have a default security group. You can have, you can choose your permissions level. Then there's jobs. Jobs would only really be used in the sense of if you're using Silverware for your like employee management. You want them to have the job of a cook or a job of a manager. You can put in pay rates, so on and so forth. If I wanted to add a job, let's do floor manager. Done. Now I have a floor manager. If I've built out that job here and I've assigned a pay rate to it, that can be calculated. And then there's other. The very basics of what you need to add a user is you go to personal, you type in the alias, first and last name, assign them a role, make sure there's a default security group. It should have that by default, but then you want to go to other and you need to create a manual password. To create a manual password, it needs to be 4 to 6 digits and it cannot start with 0. So I can't do 0, 1, 2, 3, but I can do 1, 2, 3, 4. Type it in again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then done. Now that X showed up, that means somebody has already used 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have to pick something different. Let's do 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. Done. There we go. Got a check mark. That means that my new passcode is 4321. As a manager, typically you want to give a manager an administrative password that needs to be 8 characters long. It needs to have 1 uppercase, or at least 1 uppercase, at least 1 lowercase, and at least 1 number. You are not required to have a special character in it, but you can have something like an exclamation mark as an example in there. Let's save the changes. And now you've created a user. You can add, remove, and modify roles. Here are a few of them. You can create a new one by clicking on New, Test Role. I can go into Operations and I can specify what permissions that this role allows somebody. And here's the different permissions. I can go into Jobs. We have major jobs. We have bar, back of house, front of house, floor staff. Inside of those, you can have your minor jobs. A manager can be back of house and bartender can be front of house. The way you create them, click on New, test minor job, choose a major job. Let's do back of house. Pay rate can be, let's see, do that. Overtime rate, you can do whatever the overtime rate is going to be. Permission sets. Early sign-in grace periods, late sign-in grace periods, if you want to get that detailed about it, and then click Save. After that, we have permissions. Within that, we have permission sets and management roles. Permission sets is essentially what the user can and cannot do or access within Admin Center. Management roles is what permission set the user will acquire, thus what the user can and cannot do / access on Admin Center when they log into Admin Center and which store they have access to. By default, you have a Cloud Admin permission set and a Cloud Admin management role. Cloud Admin permission set means that you can access all of Admin Center, but maybe you want to lock that down. If you have a manager that you want to have access to Admin Center, but you don't want them to be able to do everything, you can create a manager permission set and then determine what they have access to alter, modify, or change, as you can see here. Management roles could be something of the terms of you have a chain location where you have 2 stores. You have store manager 1 and store manager 2. Store manager 1 only has access to stores 1 admin center information, and store manager 2 only has access to store 2. And then within that, you have the permission set that controls that even further. To create a new permission set, you simply connect New, Test Permission Set, Parent Permission Set. You can choose a parent one if you want, and then you can determine what is defined within that permission set. Save it. Management roles. You create what it is. can choose your permission level. Let's do manager. And you can even choose like what store groups or anything like that you have defined. Save it, and then there you go. And last, we have general. Within general, you have cost centers, service types, currencies, break types, printer groups, pay in and out, printer centers, and subtotal groups. Cost centers lets you add and remove those cost centers. I can create a new one by clicking on new. Just like your major classes, your discounts, your gratuities, those all require interface IDs if you're integrating with Maestro or Opera. Same thing applies for cost centers and service types. You will need to have an interface ID, a unique interface ID. Make it set to active. You can give this a permission level. You can set that to manager if you want to. You can choose an auto gratuity. So out of the gratuities that we've created, I can select test grant. Now, whenever I place an order at this particular cost center, automatically it will apply this gratuity for it. You can print suggested gratuity on checks, and there's a few other modifications that you can do here. You can have receipt options. This is where you can specify a particular trailer. Thank you for dining with us today at name of the cost center. You can do suggested gratuities on here if you want to as well, but this is just modifying cost centers. Save that. Service types, similar to cost centers. You have your default service types here: bar tab, catering, delivery, drive-through, room service, table service. You can add new ones if you want. Notice there is an interface ID here. You can change the name, modify it. Different modifications here. Start and end time for a particular service if you want. Printer configurations, how you want certain things to print out, when, where. If you're using a KDS, here are some basically some details for the KDS. You have currencies. You can add, remove currencies, change them, alter them a little bit if you need. There's not too much modifications to be done here. Your rates, whatnot. If you're using silverware for employee management, you can create breaks. I have a test break here, so you just click on new, and then you'll name it, select what type it is, paid or unpaid, the minimum minutes, permission levels. You have printer groups. This determines when something was ordered, where it prints out to. If you have an Expo, if you have a hot printer, kitchen printer, and an Expo printer, a hot printer, a cold printer, and an Expo printer, you would create these groups, and then you can assign those groups to print off where it needs to be printing on. Pay in and pay out reasons. So blind drop would be an example of that. Printer centers. This would be further detailed configurations of how things are printed out and where. An example of that would be no bar printing. If a bartender is at the bar and orders a drink, typically they do not want that drink to be printed. But if somebody from a server station in the restaurant orders a drink, that will print off to the bar. And then you have subtotal groups. You can create, add them. Not really much to alter, but you'll create that. And that is it. That concludes the training for Admin Center. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.